Hey guys, let me turn this up. There we are. That's a little bit better. What's up, guys? Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and figured I'd talk about the Joker DVD. What do you think? So I just got finished watching this thing for the first time. Yes, I know, for the first freaking time. But dang, and it's like 1:45 in the morning, whatever. So I'm gonna do this live because I'm actually gonna get it done this way. Otherwise, waiting and morning kids are off Sunday, so they're going to be home and it ain't going to be easy to do a review. So anyway, yes, boom, got the DVD. It was freaking spanktacular. So, what up with this DVD? The whole movie. This is the first time I was seeing the movie. I didn't see it in the theaters, didn't see all that stuff. I just decided to watch it here because, and this was really good. Yeah, this was really, really good. Now, how much of this reflected on the comic books? I don't think you can actually eke out a full 1%. Like realistically, the very butt end of the movie. Sure, that was very comic booky. But aside from that, yeah, no. Bagley, you going outside? Go ahead. Yep. Love you too, girl. Bye bye. Okay, my cat had to leave. So Mark Guerrero, oh my God, you don't sleep either, do you? So yes, this really was good. And it's funny on the podcast earlier, just as I was clicking off, I saw that you were saying it was worth every Oscar nomination that it could possibly get. You're right. You're 100% right. This was really good. Most of the here's the funny thing about it. They didn't need to make this the Joker. They could have just made this about a regular person. Maybe it would have gotten more eyes on it. Maybe it would have gotten less eyes on it. Todd Phillips and was it Mark Silver are the two writers for this? Todd Phillips also the director for this. I think maybe Scorsese would have had more hands-on for this movie. That could have been a good thing. That could have been a bad thing if it didn't actually involve the Joker himself. Excuse me. You watch the special features of this DVD, and they're like, yeah, so this pretty much has nothing to do with the actual Joker. They just threw in the Thomas Wayne stuff throughout. Like peppered a couple of Thomas Wayne scenes in here, the Bruce Wayne thing, the thing with the pearls. They also paid nod to the Dark Knight movie where he was in the back of the police car and just leaning as, the traffic is going by and he's just looking out the window. We saw that even in the trailer, plus in the trailer for the Dark Knight movie. There's a couple little nods here and there, but they didn't go crazy with it. A couple little nods actually to Taxi Driver also. A bunch of people saying, "Oh, it's a ripoff of Taxi Driver and this and that and all these other things." It's like, yeah, in a way, but it's also a nod to those films. I don't see a problem with it. It's telling you, hi, this is where I drew a lot of my inspiration from, since it really wasn't from the comics. um, Underwood Sketches, what's up, brother? You made this live cast. So good movie. Has nothing to do with the actual comic. Yeah. Aside from the part where they show the origin of Bruce Wayne, as Batman in the very end of this movie, no. Like think about it, there were no Vata chemicals, there was no Ace chemicals. Like Gotham was talked about throughout the movie, but to what end? To what extent? Even if you looked at the subway maps, you actually saw like Burnside and stuff like that. Like they actually had Gotham City names on a New York City map, which I thought was freaking great. They showed a whole bunch of cool things, and I genuinely enjoyed this. But make no mistake, if they would have made a guy in if they would have used this, well, you can't really use this costume because people would have still said, oh, it's like the Joker in a little ways, because they would have absolutely suggested the movies were the same. They could have very simply put this in a guy that wore a mask instead, and it wouldn't have had anything to do with the Joker at all. And in some regards the movie would have been better, in some regards the movie would have been worse. Let's be realistic. How many comic book fans are there really nowadays? Not too many of us, not compared to the greater majority. And when you attach a name like Scorsese to this movie, it's like in some ways, it's a conflict. Plus Scorsese's, making his comment about how the Marvel movies, the superhero movies are really just more of a theme park kind of thing. Awesome. People love a theme park. You know what I'm saying? And they make a whole lot of money too, don't they? And this movie, in many ways, wouldn't have made as much money if it didn't have the name Joker to it, you know? But at the same time, I'm sure it still would have been good. I'm sure it still would have been good regardless. Look, at the end of the day, let's address the elephant in the room. So many people talking about the controversy involving, oh my God, is this condoning violence and stuff like that? Bruh. How many people were actually killed in this movie? You can count them on two hands, maybe one. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of people got killed in this movie. There were those three punks. There was the guy at the end, which, let's be realistic, everybody who saw the trailers for this movie knew exactly where this movie was going to end. Everybody knew exactly how this movie was going to end. And I'm not disappointed in that at all. You know what I'm saying? They justified how the movie's going to end like that. It many ways seemed like the guy deserved it. But there's those four guys. There's the guy who gave him the gun in the first place. That's five. And I assume there was, a couple of other people here and there, I'm saying, littered throughout. But for the most part, I'm only thinking five people. So essentially less than 10 people. You know what I'm saying? Approximately five. That's not a bloodbath of a movie, for crying out loud. I mean, come on, dude. People get killed in movies more than the Irishman had way more deaths. So is that condoning the mafia? Is that what's happening? Every chick flick that's ever happened, is that condoning the crazy, stupid stuff that happens in that movie? God, I hope not. I don't think I could keep up with life. But like, for all intents and purposes, no. Oh, that's true. That's true. Well, what do you mean eight? If that would be seven. Did you mention another person someplace? No, that would be seven. I'm saying five plus the two. I don't know where the other one is coming from, but maybe you counted somebody that I didn't. But yeah, for the most part, and even then, that was just thrown in for the sake of us comic book fans. No, there are no end credits to this. They didn't throw in any end credits. There are only a couple of special features on the DVD. They're not even going to say it here, are they? You butt faces. Anyway, there was like four special features on the DVD. I got the Blu-ray, so it actually comes with the movie twice plus the digital copy. Uh, has all that stuff in there, and it's like, whatever, man. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Um, I don't even know the difference between the two discs, except one has special features, the other one only has a special feature. So they really bunk the one up, and they should both be widescreen. So I don't know what the deal is. One's regular DVD and one's Blu-ray. I guess on a Blu-ray player, everything looks like Blu-ray to me. Anyway, guy who gave him the Waynes, De Niro. Oh, you're right. You're right, Mark Guerrero, the psychiatrist at the end, because I looked at that and it was a really great subtle context there. When he was walking out of the Arkham Asylum, Arkham Hospital, from talking to the psychiatrist, he had blood on his feet. He had bloody footprints when he was walking. There's only one way that could have happened. So yes, he clearly off camera killed her. Awesome. Yeah, good pointing that out. There were so many great scenes in this, man. Now, does this condone mental illness? You got to be an idiot to ask a question like that. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't condone violence. It doesn't condone anything. It doesn't condone our actions when we allow things like this to go by. This movie was essentially set in the pre-Rudy Giuliani or during Rudy Giuliani mayoral time in New York City. All right, when there was a peep show every three buildings. You know what I'm saying? Every third store is either adult DVDs or a liquor store or a peep show. You know what I'm saying? It was just some kind of a like really rundown, filthy sex shop of some sort or another. Really wicked stuff. All right. This was, for all intents and purposes, this was cool. I dig that they put it back there. This way, you don't have cell phones. It's not as simple as "Hello, police." No, you actually have to find a way to call the police somehow. A payphone. Payphones were necessary in this. Very comic booky. It's hard to do comic books with cell phones nowadays because that's not the way that comic books were actually built in the first place. Times are changing. Times are changing fast. So I actually really dug that they did it back then. And um what's his name, Todd Phillips, in the special features, like, yeah, this is done in the past. It's not even in the past, it's in an alternate universe. Yeah, bud, just say it's in the past. All right, come on. um but yeah, very very different origin, if that's what you want to give it, for the Joker. It's really just he's a regular guy, but he was abused a lot when he was a kid. I mean, a lot. The part where he finds his medical records and his mom's psychiatric records and whatnot was riveting, because that's that. It's cathartic. The idea that he laughs because it's a mental condition was right there, was amazing. But I'm trying not to get too spoilery, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people I'm sure haven't seen it. Hey, what's up, Reggie? How you doing, brother? So, um, for me, I look at it as no, I don't think that's gonna happen. Joaquin Phoenix doesn't do sequels for the most part. Of course, that's also what they said about Vin Diesel. Then Fast and the Furious happened. He signs on for the freaking franchise. But for now, he doesn't do sequels. So, no, I don't want this tied in with the rest of the Marvel universe or the DC universe. I don't. I just want it to be completely separate. Plus, how old would he have to be? Because Wayne was a kid in this, right? Even look at how they changed the time period. It was originally, I believe, the Mark of Zorro that Batman that Bruce Wayne was watching when his parents were killed. Here, it's the gay sword of Zorro, which is like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. You're quite literally setting a time for this. You know what I'm saying? Like a date. How long was that movie in theaters for? Right? So, yeah, I'm digging on that. I'm digging on all of this. Honestly, I don't even know if that was a real movie to tell you. Let's just look this up really quick. You know what? This ain't gonna hurt really quick. The Gay Sword of Zorro. Boom. The Gay Blade of Zorro. Okay, so this came out in July 17th, 1981. Boom. So early 80s. Yep, that fits. That 100% fits. The Gay Blade of Zorro. Done. So I'm like, how perfect is that? Yeah, they're considering a sequel. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're considering a sequel. It depends on if he's going to come back, and even if he does come back, cool. But he's also said there's no way I'm going to do another one. So it's up in the air. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they'll do one, maybe they won't. It's not really the most important thing in the world to me right now. I'm celebrating this one, you know. And listen, I lived in New Jersey back when. So what year would this have been? I was out of the army, or at least, yeah, I was out of the army, like fresh. Still did a couple of drills for the National Guard, but it was before 2000, so I guess this would have been 95, 94 or 95. I think 95 is the appropriate year that they just started releasing mental patients into the streets. This sounds absurd. Like, there's no way this could happen, right? No, it's true. Some of the biggest crimes in the world happen right in front of our eyes, and they're so absurd that we can't imagine it. And so many of them happen that we forget about them. Do we still remember kids in cages? You know what I'm saying? Separated from their families? I mean, that just happened not too long ago. It's technically still happening. Like, it's wild, all these crazy things that happen. But when I was living in New Jersey, they actually shut down some mental facilities because they cut the funding, they cut the budgets. They're like, Psh, and they're like, oh, what do we do with all these mental patients? Put them out on the streets. Give them a little bit of a stipend so they can go and get a room to stay in. And then, yeah, whatever. They actually did that. I swear to God. I know this because I was trying to live on my own. I had this stupid idea when I was a kid that you have to live on your own. You have to be able to prove that you can make it because you're going to fight for what you got and never go back. Right. So I didn't want to live with my mom back when I was out of the army. You know what I'm saying? I stayed there for a little while and then I had to get out. I had to prove that I could. I had some money, not enough, but I had some money to go out on my own. I lived in motels, sleazy motels for a while. Using what money I had from the military while I was there, and then my monthly stipend, I got a job when I wasn't actually in full time. What do you call it? At one point, I was actually working a full-time job when I was actually fully out of the military, well, out of the full-time army and just doing National Guard. I had the National Guard, which was a drill on one weekend per month, and then 2 weeks out of the year, during the summertime. And then I was working full-time at McDonald's. They were cheating me and I was working actually 6 days a week, but the sixth day was at a different location that this guy owned, and he was giving me a separate paycheck for working over there. Wrong answer. I'm still getting a paycheck from the same people, the same owners. So I technically should have gotten overtime for that extra 8 hours that I was putting in, right? But no, they cheated me. It is what it is. They cheated the hell out of me. They cheated me out a lot of money. Plus, I was working uh, two part-time gigs, cleaning, cleaning one bar, and then another one cleaning a restaurant that had a bar in it, but it wasn't the same. Yeah, I was doing that. Like I was doing all of this just to try and stay afloat. So the only thing I could afford as I was trying to, put some bank in the bank, basically, I was trying to make some bank. They I was staying in this place. It was a room. It was a facility where they had rooms. So kind of like apartments, but they were rooms. And there's supposed to be a shared bathroom in the hallway. We were all supposed to share this one bathroom. And at first, there wasn't anybody there, and I was able to be there and chill out and whatever. And then they just released all these mental patients in the streets, and said, "Oh, go and get rooms at some of these places." So of course, they filled up this place that I was in, and there were. I hate to say, honestly, I don't have the vocabulary I don't have the training to know what else to say, but mentally ill people all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Essentially, crazy people all over the place. People masturbating in the freaking hallways, people masturbating in the bathroom. Like there was a lot of masturbation. I'm just saying. People trying to get in my room at night. People looking for drugs. Like it was wild, and I wound up leaving to kind of squat in this place that a friend of mine was at. She's like, yeah, the basement is abandoned. You can actually go down there and stay in there for a while. And I fixed the place up until the landlord realized I was living there. Like, dude, you'd be surprised the crazy stuff that I went through just to not live at home, you know? And I mean, like, holy crap. But there were literally and nobody knew what to do with it. So of course the police are coming by, they're arresting people, and they're not trained to arrest to handle mentally challenged people, people who belong in an institute, people who belong in a hospital. So this movie is so realistic to me. This was so real to me. This was real life. This wasn't a movie. This was a scene out of my life. Like this was sick. It was crazy. And it really does happen. And in the 80s, it was worse. It was worse. You know what I'm saying? The police couldn't handle the crime that was on there. Yes, you could. I was a little kid. I was a little kid, but I remember, what do you call it? Being taken into the city. Well, first, like trips that we would take to museums and things like that in the city. But also, we take the train, which would eventually lead to the subway. So I'm in Port Authority, a little kid wandering around, looking around, like, wow, this place is great. And I'm coming from bad neighborhoods in the first place. So I'm thinking nothing can hurt me here. And there were people who would try to hurt me there. You know what I'm saying? Sex trafficking was a real thing. We just didn't know about it back then because there was no internet back then. Dude, you have no idea how freaking crazy the world is, bruh. Ooh, let me tell you something. The idea that people could be beaten up in the street was real because you heard about it all the time. And it wasn't like it was put on the news. No, it was people telling you about it. Hey, so and so got jumped in the street. Exactly that kind of terminology that they used in this movie. The exact same terminology. It's wild, bruh. It's wild. All the other things that happened in this movie, this very real documentary of life, shows this guy, Arthur Fleck, a brand new name for a Joker, as if Jack Napier wasn't enough. Sean Murphy will probably make a character called Arthur Fleck at some point. Anyway, it'll probably be the death of the White Knight. Saying the third White Knight series. Anyway, they they showed basically a case study, and that's what this was, a case study of a person who went crazy. Not just a person who is crazy, but a person who, like, it wasn't his fault. When he goes to, and it's funny, he goes to Newark, of all places, Newark, New Jersey. He goes to Newark and he checks this place out and he's like, Chillmonger, what's up? Chillmonger's in here. How you doing, brother? You're 100% right. It would have only made half the money. That's a very good point. Boom. So anyway, no, I disagree with that though. I disagree with that. I think it 100% would have been a hit because word of mouth enough would have been enough. Plus, like the names that were attached to this movie, no, it absolutely would have made a lot of money. It might have even in many ways made more money because Mind you, I'm still attached to the Army website. I'm still attached to the emails that they put out and whatnot. So I got put out, there was an email that was put out from the United States Army talking about do not or be careful if you're going to go to this movie. Maybe consider waiting a week to go see this movie, because the last time that there was a big Joker movie, the Heath Ledger Joker movie, the Batman movie with Heath Ledger, Dark Knight, there were a couple of instances. One very big incident where people walked in with trench coats and guns, saying, "I'm the Joker," and opening fire and killing a bunch of people in a movie theater. That happened. That happened. I was actually I was in Jersey, but I was actually like not a Saudi Arabian. I was a Saudi Arabian resident at the time, but I came back that summer for vacation. I was actually staying at my uncle's house, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go see this movie. I'm just not going to see it tonight." And I heard about that. I was like, "Well, I'm not going now." Like, there are crazy people out there. I can't believe this. People saying I'm the Joker and shooting people up. What's the matter with these people? What's the matter? But it's funny. That's the exact same question that people asked of the Joker, Arthur Fleck, in this movie. What's the matter with this guy? You know, he had that card. Please return this card. You know what I'm saying? I have a condition, and it explains briefly the condition as like a bullet point. And people still, the person who read the card, you know. And I remember when I was younger too. They got to do something with these people. They gotta. Is it my responsibility to do something about these people? No, I pay taxes for this. Was my taxes going towards these things? No, I can tell you where my taxes was going, towards the military industrial complex, big pharma, and all these other places. Like, dude, we can get political about it. I don't want politics in my movies, though. Sorry. That's one of the main reasons why this comic or why this movie is so freaking huge, because it was very political. It was. We got money for all these other things, but rich people. And think about the way that they demonized Thomas Wayne in this. They they pretty much gave him the Mayor Bloomberg treatment. Mayor Bloomberg did stop and frisk. Oh yeah, stop and frisk is going to help people. This guy did not. This guy swore that stop and frisk was the best thing to happen to New York City up until last July. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden that changed, or no, up until September. Excuse me, up until September. That's when everything changed. When he was like, "I think I might run for president." That's when all of a sudden he's like, "Oh yeah, it was a really bad thing, but I didn't know about it." Even his excuse he didn't know about it is because he was completely detached. Well, I don't care. I don't pay attention anymore. I did a thing. Now I'm not doing a thing anymore. So who cares? Stop and frisk was terrible. Stop and frisk has made its way up to Canada. A lot of you guys know that I'm married to, well, my wife is black, so hence a black family. She has a teenage brother, and she has right now an adult brother. And the amount of time, this is a good kid. This is a genuinely good kid. And the number of times that he's been stopped and frisked on the same night is absurd. Wakes you hell up. It's not about woke culture. It's about marrying into a family and realizing a side of a story that you've never heard before. That's insanity, man. And like, that's what's up. That's what's up. Um, and that's what we see in here. Really out of touch people. And what's one of the lines that Thomas Wayne says at one point? These people are a bunch of jokers. They're a bunch of clowns. Well, that was really cute. They're clowns because they don't realize I'm their only hope. Oh, well, thank you, Mr. Rich Man. Hey, let's make this political since you're running for politics. Why don't you shut your damn mouth and just pay your damn taxes and stop trying to bribe all sorts of politicians to do things to help you out, to cut your taxes and take it out on us so that we can actually have the programs that our taxes are going to, because I don't want my tax dollars going to regime change wars. But we should just stick to the movie, right? But that's what the movie was. That's the kind of thing that you can draw from this movie. The idea that the rich are extremely out of touch. They just don't get it. What's one of the lines that Arthur Fleck says in here, which I thought was beautiful, and I never thought about this before? Unless you are a trust fund baby watching this, okay, now or later, the fact of the matter is, every single one of us have dreamed about being somebody else. Every single one of us has dreamed about being rich. Maybe you dreamed like Arthur Fleck, where it's like, oh, here's this guy. He's supposed to be a good guy. This Murray Hollowell, whatever his name is, this Murray guy. All right, cool. And then he gets on there and he's just like, hey, Yeah, yeah, agreed, Juan Perez. I absolutely agree. The idea is that, he was imagining that he was singled out on the show and in a good way. And the guy was like, I can tell something about you. You're special, right? And he's like, oh, because every single one of us wants to feel special. What's one of the things that Arthur Fleck said to the most important thing that he said to his psychiatrist? The most important thing that she read was, I hope that my death has more meaning than my life. Wow, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. On top of that, he says, shoot, lost it. What's the one thing that he says? I, I, I sometimes I used to think that I didn't exist. I used to feel like I didn't exist. Yeah, that's a big deal, man. That's a really big deal. Here's the like there's this thing in psychology. There's these two, actually it's more philosophy than anything else, but it definitely has roots in psychology also. The egocentrical illusion, no, the egocentrical prediction and then the egocentrical illusion. Every single one of us, everybody on earth is trapped in an egocentrical predicament, meaning no matter where you look, you are the center of the world, of your world. Everything that you see is from your own perspective. It's not from a bird's eye perspective. It's not from a worm's eye perspective. It's from a you perspective. It's very hard for you to see from my perspective because I'm using my eyes currently. You can't, right? So all of a sudden there's going to be like, peekaboo, what is that? The Jeepers Creepers movie brought up. But like realistically, we're all stuck in our own world. We know what we like, what we taste, saying, oh, I'm okay with Brussels sprouts. I like Brussels sprouts, especially if you burn them a little bit and, like caramelize them. I think that they taste great. Most people, it seems, don't like Brussels sprouts. Okay. So when somebody says Brussels sprouts are nasty, man, you're not speaking for everybody in the world. Sometimes we think we are, but we're not. We're speaking for ourselves because I like Brussels sprouts. I'm okay with beets. You know what I'm saying? I don't like green beans. I don't like green beans. But people who like green beans, if I say green beans are nasty, what are you talking about, dude? Green beans are excellent. But we know what we're talking about, and most of us can figure that out. But we all, in some way, shape, or form, want to be special, and it's very easy to feel as though you should be special because we're the center of the world, our perspective. But then there's also the egocentrical illusion. See, most people who understand that there is, even if you don't know the technical term, egocentrical predicament, you understand everybody's reality is just their own perception. But someone who's in an egocentrical illusion actually believes that they're the center of the world. You should try this toothpaste. Why? Because it's the best. What studies have you conducted or read that show that this is the best toothpaste? This is the toothpaste I use. Trust me, it's the best. Kind of narcissistic, right? And everybody in some way, shape, or form knows someone like that, right? At the end of the day, my way is the right way. Why? Because I said it, because I've lived my life and I've experienced it. And you just have to trust me. Dude, I've lived my life too, and I've had my own experiences, and I've come to the exact opposite conclusion. And this works for me. Don't you understand that? Well, you're going to see one of these days. Actually, maybe you will. Like, that's the whole point of it. The egocentrical illusion is a terrifying thing when you think about how someone can completely lose it if they actually exist in that kind of a state. So I look at it as Arthur Fleck just wanted to feel special. We all, in some way, want to feel special. Let's be realistic. Raise your hand in private. I'll do it in public. How many people have watched American Idol or something like that, or Glee, and thought, I would love to be able to just have one of those voices or to be discovered for having one of those great voices? Just walk in and just, tonight is the night and do whatever. And all of a sudden somebody, just like Simon Cowell just stands up and just starts doing that slow clap and everybody breaks into a ovacious cheer. And it's like a lot of us, I think in many ways, all of us have felt that way. But I guess that's my own egocentrical predicament that I imagine all of us have felt that way at some point or another. We all want to have that freaking moment and maybe it's, you step up and you play a guitar, or maybe you read a poem, or you write a book and everybody's like, holy crap, Oprah read my book and now everybody's reading my book. Just in some way, shape, or form, we've all had that moment that we're all special, that we are that cream of the crop. We just haven't been discovered yet. We all want that. And in many ways, we are. Not all of us are going to be discovered. Most of us are just going to wind up being the thresh. And we're just going to have to work it day to day and deal with it. And that sucks. That genuinely sucks. And most of us aren't prepared for something like that. We just have to take our licks as we keep trying to survive, right? And Arthur Fleck was simply one of those people that representative of something that so many of us felt. But here's the big kicker. Well, we've all imagined that we're rich or famous and such and such and such, like a Kim Kardashian or a Paris Hilton or I don't know, any of those big time names that are Instagram models that basically haven't actually done anything with their lives. They're trust fund babies, so they were given everything that they got. Anything that they did develop on their own, it was with money that we certainly didn't have access to. Maybe my idea, maybe your idea would have been the greatest idea and it would have made billions and billions of dollars. But I mean, even Kanye, for crying out loud, as rich as he was from all the money that he, all the money that he made from the songs that he put out, he still needed to borrow money. And he was on there, nah, Shay, you don't understand, Shay, nah, Shay, no. Like, dude, oh my God, somebody hit this man in the freaking head. He's done lost it long time ago. But even he needed to borrow money in order to make his dream come true. I mean, so how many of these trust fund babies are, and of course, what's his name? Kanye goes and marries one of the biggest trust fund babies of all, a Kardashian. But I mean, how many of us have see these people right now being famous for nothing? The two people I mentioned are famous because of a sex tape. A sex tape. Wow. And how many of these people have ever dreamt about being us? We'd like to believe none of them. We'd like to believe that they're all completely out of touch. And in many ways, yeah, they kind of are. That's what we see in this movie. One of the most famous stories ever told, redone in Hollywood umpteen billion times, all sorts of media, is The Prince and the Pauper. The idea that, oh, we can all relate to the prince, but what about the pauper? Excuse me, reverse. We can all relate to the pauper, but what about the prince? Maybe the prince dreams of being one of us, a pauper, a poor person. That's what Aladdin was based off of. That's what so many other movies were based off of, right? And books, TV shows, whatever. Of the poor rich person. And that's what we imagine, that's one of the reasons why we have this infatuation with the British royal family. Screw them. They're a bunch of Germans. They're Germans. Look at their background. Look at their heritage. They're German, but they're technically in charge of Great Britain. What? But we imagine like the princess Di, and she's like, and oh, she didn't really want that life. She just wanted to be a regular person. She's like us, and we adore her for that. I don't adore anybody, really. Wow. But that's what these movies do. That's what these stories do, that prince and the pauper mentality. And they take the prince completely out of this story, and it's just the pauper. And it's a mentally challenged pauper who it wasn't his fault, tied to a freaking radiator and beaten in front of his mother, who's not even really his mother, kidnapped and all that stuff, abandoned, found, lost and found, you know what I'm saying? Like a freaking pair of mittens or a jacket on the subway. You know what I'm saying? And this person just beating the crap out of him and whatnot, beating him until he was just like oh my God. And he can't even remember it because he was so young. And this isn't his fault. Everybody, if you get a chance, go and look at my Fantoma. Ends with an H, Fantoma. She's the first female superhero ever created by William Fletcher, I think I can't remember exactly what his name is. Can't remember his name right now because I'm on the spot. But anyway, go and look up that video. It's one of the earlier creators videos that I did. It's right in there with the Artie Simek and the Jack Kirby videos that I did explaining some of these characters from our Fletcher Hanks. That's his name. Fletcher Hanks. Go and check out Fletcher Hanks because Fletcher Hanks is, I think he's still alive. The youngest son. Excuse me. He's a hero. He was a war hero and he's done all these amazing things, but he's mentally retarded because his father used to beat him when he was a kid. Like I have all that stuff at the end of the video because I wanted to point out that, the mental health aspect, it shouldn't be let go. And regardless of whether, it's like, oh, this guy technically created the first ever, long before there was a Supergirl or a Hawk Girl or a Wonder Woman or any of these characters, there was Phantoma, a superheroine, a female superhero. And this poor kid, his kid, was beaten so many times along the side of the head that there was permanent damage done to him. Kind of hard to look at Fletcher Hanks as a hero when you hear about things like that, right? And the idea this guy, this kid overcame that stuff and wound up doing some good for his life. But what about the kids who didn't? What about the kids who didn't overcome that stuff? So I mean, wow. This is that's what this is. Somebody who's just left in the drudge and it's not his fault. There is no help. He works, he pays taxes. What does he get for his taxes? Ask not what you can do for this country. Rather ask not what this country can do for you, but rather what you can do for this country. No, I pay taxes. I was in the military. All of us pay taxes. That's what I've done for the country. What's the country going to do for me? That's what I want to know. And that's what this shows, a person who is lost in the system. We just got finished seeing, what was it? X-Force issue number 4, I think it was. Maybe 5. I think it was issue 5. Anyway, where Apocalypse is dressed in the nice suit. And what's that one thing that he says that's just that blew me away, and it was a beautiful saying. The fall of every empire begins with a single hungry mouth. And that's what this movie shows. All these scenes, it's one thing to have like everybody who, the idea that, oh yeah, all these people, they spit on him and they didn't like him and they hated him and things like that. Yes, they did. But these are all taxpayers, right? These are all people who are busting their butts. They're working. They're doing the best they can. Sometimes they're nice to them. Sometimes they're not. Depends on what moment you're going to catch these people on, right? Look, if you see a homeless person on the street, don't be a dick to that person. But at the same time, it's not your responsibility to take that person in and feed them, clothe them, shelter them, and stuff like that. No, it's what our tax dollars go for. We are so programmed to blame ourselves. And sometimes it's not a bad thing. Take responsibility. But there's some things that can't be our responsibility. None of us have the training. Most of us don't have the funds, the resources. Like, it sucks when we see somebody out there who's just left by the system. At the end of the day, our tax dollars are supposed to help these things out. And that's one of the things that twice they pointed out in this movie. Glaring to me. Glaring. Like the glare on the DVD, Oh, nope, sorry. This thing's being funded. And the Joker, Arthur Fleck is finally able to talk. It's like, listen, here's the deal. Yeah, I just shot these 3 people who were hurting me, and I'm glad that they were hurt because blah, blah, blah. And he's trying to explain this to this woman, and she's saying, Arthur, they cut the funding. This is the last time I'm going to be able to see you. Like, they don't care about you, Arthur. They don't care about me. They don't care about any of us. And he says, where am I supposed to get my meds from? You know why there wasn't an answer? Because there wasn't an answer. This movie speaks to our societies, and it's frightening. That's the reason why. That's what's one of the main reasons why when people talk about I don't like politics in my comic book, I say, then what comic books have you been reading? The funny pages? Because the best stories, the stories that are going to get people talking, screaming about how good something was, is something that is rooted in reality. And let's be realistic. Our realities in general suck. And it's not embarrassing. It's not shameful to say that. We didn't fail. The system's failing us. That's what we're talking about here. If I'm more successful than this guy or that guy's more successful than me, it's not any fault of our own. It's the idea the system is failing. And what did that show at the end? People putting on their makeup and their clown, masks and things like that and going out and protesting, sometimes violently. And we sometimes ask, well, why are you going to destroy your own city? Because at the end of the day, what else are you going to destroy? You're mad. Your people are angry and they don't have any direction. They don't like what kind of direction do we really have? Anytime that we do get a nonviolent leader, I'm going to point out Kaepernick. What do they do right away? Shame, shame, shame. No, shut up and just go play football. You can't play football anymore because you suck. Fine, get out. Just disappear. Disappear. We're going to sit here and argue that he's not at least the 96th best quarterback out there. That's what we're going to argue. That's what we're going to argue. He's not even fit to be 96th. There's no place for him on there. It's pure racism, 100%. That's all it is. And all of these big money owners who, by the way, built their stadiums off of our tax dollars. They didn't pay for these stadiums to be built, and they get tax-free all these services and whatnot because, oh, we're going to create jobs. They're going to create minimum wage jobs, which are garbage jobs, and we're supposed to thank them for it because we don't know how to take care of ourselves because they've taken all the funds, they've taken all the money. Being poor isn't a failure in life; it's a shortage of funds, and it's not our faults. It's not our faults. And that's what this movie is telling us. There's a reason why people love these movies. And this movie particularly, there's a reason why people are going crazy, funny word, right? Over this movie, because it's so rooted in reality. It spits truth. It spits pure truth. And these are all things that you can derive from it. The rich have sucked our lives. They put the thing in here, kill the rich. That's based off of the eat the rich comment, and that's not a new comment. Anybody who's an Aerosmith knows eat the rich. There's only one thing that they're good for. It's a good song. You know what I'm saying? Boom. And that's what it's about. The system has failed everybody. And there's certain people who are uber super duper rich. They couldn't imagine what it's like to be poor because they were never poor. They didn't earn these. You name me one billionaire. You name me one billionaire who did not get rich by crook, who only got rich by hook, and who, behind every great fortune is a great crime. That's true. That's totally true. I see Rum Runner in the comments. Kennedys, that's how they got rich. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, you find me one billionaire who did not get where he's at from stealing or from, a straight up crime. You can't. You can't. And that's one of the things that this is showing. Thomas Wayne he was the dartboard. He was basically the dartboard. And the Joker was the biggest freaking dart they could find. Heck, he was a Patriot missile. You know what I'm saying? That's what this movie was. And I loved this movie for it. It really pointed out to something that just most people can't say. They don't have the vocabulary to say these things because we're trained so fervently. Nope. Nope. Ed Brewer, Oprah. I don't know if you're calling me Oprah or if you're saying that Oprah talks about it. Be cool if Oprah talks about it. I hope Oprah remembers what. Oh, you're saying Oprah got rich by herself. I wasn't prepared for Oprah. I can think about Oprah, but you might be right. You honestly might be right. I'm not sure. But you might actually be right on that one. Okay, cool. I'm happy to stand off on that. Here, however, I see also Steve Jobs. Nope, Steve Jobs definitely got through by crook. He didn't create. He was a salesman. He was a salesman. That's what he was. He went to school for tech, but all the stuff that he got, all the tech that was made, was by Steve Wozniak. He was and Steve Wozniak's still alive, and he's happy to tell those stories. If anybody listens, look up Steve Wozniak. Amazing human being, ridiculously smart human being. And Steve Jobs crapped all over him, stole from him, stole the ideas from him, stole his money from him, stole his pensions from him. He robbed the guy blind, and it's screwed. It's really messed up. Here was the real genius behind everything. But the face of the company was him. Bill Gates stole from Apple. You know what I'm saying? That's where his money came from. Somebody might wind up pointing those things out. Howard Stern, yeah, is Howard Stern a billionaire? I don't know that he's a billionaire. Like I'm specifically talking about billionaires in this particular case. Millionaire is one thing. A millionaire you usually have to get by like with a team, and things like that, and just it is what it is. You actually need people working for you. A billionaire is somebody who there's no way they can actually be working a job. You know what I'm saying? A billionaire can't possibly be working a job. There's that saying that Bill Gates makes more than $1,000 per second because of all the stocks that he's involved in. Stocks, mind you, which are built around excluding companies that they don't own, right? So the joke was back during 98, I think it was 97. I think around 97, there was the joke that started going around that if Bill Gates was walking down the street and saw a $1,000 bill on the ground, he would actually make more money by walking past it instead of stopping to pick up that 1,000 because that second that it took is only $1,000. Meanwhile, he makes more, and it's like I said, it's a joke. I mean, picking up that's just a found $1,000. Doesn't take anything to pick it up, but like that's the joke about it. Oh, don't you dare get into Walt Disney, one of the most ridiculously disgusting creature features on the face of this planet. He's a disgusting human being. Um, yeah, ask one of his Chinese employees if Steve Jobs is a crook, right? Vince McMahon never talent rated the territory, so at least he's clear. Chillmonger, I love your sarcasm. I genuinely do. Like I got to see it up close, which is great. It's like some people think that Wolverine's appearance is different. Like I love that stuff, dude. Um, I honestly wish that we lived closer so that we can actually collaborate on something together because, man, like that would be freaking great. But yeah, 100%, man. Even the people we think we're clear, probably, that's the thing about it. We have the internet nowadays, Underwood, so we don't even need to speculate. We can just look. We can actually look these things up. Again, Oprah is the only one that I wasn't expecting to hear in this. Yes, she is a billionaire. And yes, I know that she's worked her butt off. And yes, I know that she actually came from poverty, or at least she didn't come from a trust fund. So there's that. Honestly, I can't think of any crime that she's done offhand that's been put out on the internet. I don't know, but yeah. So I'm just going to let Oprah go. Maybe Oprah is the one exception. Awesome, if that's the truth. Uh, but even then, I can still say that a lot of these people, including Oprah, do get out of touch when you lose. Like she's still got her one childhood friend, her best friend. I can't remember her name, but that person. I think she's on The View right now. But when you start making so much money, you do wind up losing touch after a while. You're not there anymore in the streets. You don't understand what it's like to actually be broke. But again, that's what this was all about. That's what all of this was about. And that was the big overlying message there. These people heard that, oh, they killed these kids, these Wall Street kids, but they worked for Thomas Wayne. But he says that they were bad. Nobody wanted to listen to that though because the other people focused on, oh, their own people. Oh my God, you could think about the elections. You could just think about the elections. You know, look, Bernie Sanders, Tulsi Gabbard, Andrew Yang. These are three people who will not follow the status quo, or at least they've shown that they're not interested in following the status quo. Some better than others. Okay, there's a reason why I support Bernie Sanders over everybody, but that's beside the fact. Then you look at people like Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, and Elizabeth Warren, who are all about the system, the status quo, follow the actual party, make sure, and these are the people that the elite and the news and the rich people are going to support. Like, hey, these are the candidates, and that's where the media coverage comes from. Why does the media choose to cover these people? Because these media people are paid sometimes $35 million a year. I'm sorry, someone who makes $35 million a year to report the news. And they're not going out on the streets and talking to people. They just get the stuff fed to them in the little earpiece and they see the teleprompter in front of them. That's what they're getting. And then they have somebody on the far right and somebody on the center coming in and talking to them. Very rarely do we get somebody on the actual left coming in. Usually get somebody in the center. It's like, oh, you two argue it out. Oh, well, this is and think about this. Think about the way that the media reports things. I really wish that the media was touched in here also, but it might have been too much in the movie. But think about if the media reported on sports the way that they report on the rest of the news. Well, the Phillies and the Astros had a baseball game today. The Phillies say they won. The Astros say that they won. You decide, because that's how the news media reports things. There's no investigative reporting. There's nobody down on the street actually looking and saying, "Huh, look at that." Well, obviously one of them is lying. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe they're both lying. Maybe it was a draw, it was a tie game. But I mean, man, like it's wild. Well, the first two people he killed was in self-defense, the third was murder. You see, yes, the third was technically murder, but and I'm not justifying it all. When he walked up and he was like chasing this guy, think about what he said afterwards, because mind you, it's a mental illness. Can someone who doesn't have all their faculties there be convicted of murder? Can an animal be convicted of murder? Um, so like this is where the realms of psychology come in. It's so easy for a lawyer or a judge to come and say, well, I don't get into that stuff. I just look at what actually happened. But it's the nuance. The devil is in the details. That's where the term comes from, right? So when you look at it, what did Arthur Fleck say afterwards? He said to that Maury guy, "I feel happy now, and I'm tired of denying it. I feel happy." Why did he say he feels happy that he killed those three people? Because they can never hurt him again. I had my house robbed one time, and this is the closest I can really talk about a violation. All right, because there are plenty of men and women who have been raped, and it's far worse the things that they've had to deal with. But just me getting my place robbed. I went out one time to go and see the Batman and Robin movie. Yes, the George Clooney. So I guess I deserve this. I can laugh about it now. Um, Batman and Robin movie. And my cat was staying there. It wasn't Bagel. It was a different cat I had named Eek. Beautiful cat, also all gray. Anyway, I left my balcony door open just that much so that she could breathe and so she can go outside and come in. And, it's a balcony. It's up a story. I was living on the second story. And when I left, there was these kids and an old head who broke into my home. They climbed up the balcony. They walked right in. They stole my gorgeous Stratocaster guitar. Excuse me, it's a Telecaster guitar. They stole my sound system. Like they left one of the speakers. Gee, how nice! They took my DVD player. They took a whole bunch of my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Actually, as a video cassette player, but it was back in the day, man. Shut up. Anyway, so yeah, they stole all this stuff from me. And meanwhile, I came home. I came home alone. My buddy Chris went back to his place. I went to my place. I was living alone with my cat. My cat wouldn't come out because she was terrified. And I walked in. I see that my front door is open, or my back door is open. I'm like, what's going on? Because I came in, my front door was open. My back door was closed, but I park out front. So I walked up and like, why is my door open? Did I forget to close my door? How is that even possible? But sure enough, door was open. So I go walking in and it's like, oh crap. Oh crap, I was robbed. And I'm wondering to myself, are these people still here? So I was trained in the martial arts since I was 8 years old. I to make that's making it passive. I studied hard in the martial arts since I was 8 years old. So I have always had some kind of a weapon. Yes, even today, some kind of a weapon within arm's reach, no matter where I am in the house. That's something I was trained in. My first study was Togokoren Ninjutsu. So call me crazy if you want, I don't care. But always within arm's reach, like a little lean to the side, and I can reach for something that I can use as a weapon. In this particular case, I only had to take 2 steps, and there was a knife right over there hidden where they didn't even see it. And I just, boom, I pulled out my knife, boom, it was a folding knife, just boom, popped it open. I'm turning around, I'm in combat ready mode, and I'm like, whoever's in this house, I'm gonna murder you if you don't come out right now. And I'm screaming this at the top of my lungs, you know what I'm saying? And I was young, you know what I'm saying? I was very early 20s when this happened. And I reach over and I grab the phone. It's a phone with the cord on the wall because it's old. Or I was back in the day. Look at when Batman Robin movie came out. And I was terrified. You know what I'm saying? I was terrified. I was afraid somebody was gonna, or a bunch of people were gonna come running out of the bedroom with, a freaking lamp or a gun, and be like, "Yo," it's like, "Holy crap!" What am I gonna do? I'm stuck here with a phone and a freaking knife. Like, what am I gonna do? We get tied up into court. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So yeah, like it was terrifying, and I couldn't sleep that night. I closed the door. I locked it. I closed all the doors. I locked them. Yo, I went on like certain parts, and I put up cans and little booby traps, not to actually like hurt somebody because I didn't have stuff like that, but so it would make noise and wake me up just in case I somehow fell asleep. I couldn't sleep that night. Had to go to the had to go to work the next day. Excuse me. I came home afraid that somebody might be in my apartment. Why would somebody come back to the scene of the crime, right? But I was terrified. Now imagine somebody who was raped. Imagine what they have to deal with. Now imagine the idea of if these people could have been found and captured and put away. But there's always that threat, and especially in the 80s, oh, yeah, they got let out of jail. We were supposed to call you yesterday. Wow. Now imagine, and this is where it gets really rough, these people were killed. They ain't coming back. That's what he said when he was on Maury's show, over Maury yelling at him, Robert De Niro yelling at him. He's like, they're dead. They're gone now. I don't have to worry about. I don't have to be afraid of them anymore." That was so telling. That was huge. That was a big deal. At the end of the day, brah, that was a big deal. So for a mentally ill person, or for someone who's just a victim, and this guy's been a victim his whole life, and he's tried to do the right thing, but he's just not smart enough to always do the right thing. Don't chase the people, the kids who just stole your sign. Don't follow them down the freaking alley. Saying, hey, if you are going to get busted in the face and kicked in the nuts and beaten, stomped while you're down, bring a couple pieces of the sign and go back to the main, the people who you were doing the sign thing for, and be like, hi, I was attacked. You know what I'm saying? Some people are like, why didn't you go to the hospital? You must not be from America. Hospitals are expensive here. That's another subject we could talk about. But the idea is that, wow, man, this guy has been a victim his whole entire life. What do you do? In that particular case, what do you do? There's nothing you can do. This was a fantastic movie because it explained all of that stuff. I'm gonna have to change the title to this, that I get really political in this one, but that's what the movie was. That's what it was. Anyway, guys, I am gonna bounce now. This was a long time. Let me check out a couple of these things here. Money magnifies who people? I don't know who people are. Um, I don't have anything for Oprah either. The first two people killed, yeah, read that one. The away team had more points, but fan support was behind the home side, who had a higher shooting percentage. You're just being silly now, but I likes it. How true? Bill Gates, number one in 2017, fell to 12th place in 2018, giving away an estimated 138 million to their Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation last year donated. Okay, Rum Runner, I think I see where you're going with this, and you getting an idea, yeah, of all this that they've given away. Okay, I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not, because I can't tell, what your tone by reading something. So I'm just going to go by the idea that you were trying to, give a positive spin on something, or just, whatever, that you didn't have anything malicious in mind, and you can explain, later. I'm here to read if you want. But what was it? They did a my wife actually came to me with this recently. Um, Jeff Bezos, he didn't get one red penny of taxes taken away from him in the previous year, and a couple previous years behind that also, right? We have to pay on average of 26% of our taxes in America. And yeah, the super wealthy elite have all sorts of loopholes that we can't take advantage of. Hell, they can claim bankruptcy for all the things that they're ever going to use. The only thing that we'd ever really use for the most part, besides credit cards, which already have a 22% interest rate on them on average, is a student loan. But Joe Biden was behind the bankruptcy bill back in 1991 and made it so that we can't claim bankruptcy anymore. It was a really particularly bad time for me because I graduated in 93. There was no internet during the time. So my parents always telling me, take out a student loan. You can always claim bankruptcy if for some reason it's not working. So that's always a last resort, but bang, bang, bang. But then the bankruptcy bill came out. Joe Biden is the one who was 100% behind that. Yeah, why would you ever vote for Joe Biden? And just saying, and he's the reason why. If you had to point to just one person, he is the reason why. He drew up that bankruptcy bill so that we can't claim bankruptcy on student loans anymore. But meanwhile, all these other Donald Trump, the president of the United States, claimed bankruptcy 6 times in his life on casinos. You know the term, the house always wins? Well, not if Trump is in charge of the casino, apparently. 6 times on casinos. Gambling, for crying out loud. And we're actually looking for an education, but we can't claim bankruptcy on that. Wow, go figure. Go figure. Anyway, and people are worried about the what is it, the diversity, bringing people to school for diversity reasons. I forget what that's called. Um, a diversity hire or whatever. Yeah, that's cute. How about trust fund babies? You know, saying who come in on that golden plan. Oh, my father is an alumni at this school, so I therefore am also guaranteed admittance. Yeah, I think that's more of a handout than the person who gets in because, oh, I qualified for everything, but hey, I'm also minority and, come from a really poor family. So maybe give me a slight bit of an advantage over somebody else who can afford it anyway, and who could probably get into another school on his own merits anyway. Yeah, I just don't think that's the same thing. I really don't. But that being said, um, what do you call it? When just giving a positive. So anyway, with Jeff Bezos, and she didn't do it with the Bill Gates thing, but she did do it with the Jeff Bezos thing. Jeff Bezos gave a whole bunch of like millions of dollars. No, he gave about $1 billion away, 1 point something billion dollars, like $1.38 billion in charitable funds away last year. I want you to think about that. 1.38 or so billion dollars. That's a lot of money, right? Now let's damn the statistics and actually look at the math. He's worth $142 billion, which means that the money he gave away is less than 1% of what he earns. My wife and I individually gave away about 5% of what we earned last year. You see, that stuff doesn't hurt. That's how out of touch these people are. I gave away $1 billion+. Yeah, but you should have paid a lot more of that in taxes if you didn't have all these loopholes to go through. And what could that have done for our infrastructure, for our roads, for our buildings, for our bridges? What could that have done? For, mind you, for all the trucks, all the post office delivery trucks and FedEx trucks that Amazon is putting out on the roads, destroying our roads, because your little Coupe de Ville or even your little minivan is not doing nearly as much damage and wear and tear on the roads as these big mail trucks with the heavy packages and multiple wheels, giant block engines driving on the roads, right? Polluting the oxygen 5 times more per vehicle than any of our vehicles that we could possibly own, right? How much damage are they doing? And yet they're not paying their fair share in taxes? Yeah, sorry, bro. If this is too political for some people, go away and put your head back in the sand because this is real talk right here. Jeff Bezos's charity of less than 1% that he gave away does not equal the percentage of what the rest of us gave in charitable donations or whatever, because it hurts us more than it could ever possibly hurt him. And the exact same thing goes for somebody like Bill Gates. You do the math. You forget about the silly statistics because there are lies, there are damn lies, and then there's statistics. Yeah, it gets worse. Look at the actual math. Because when people make fun of the British for saying, oh, yeah, I studied the maths, there's multiple maths. There's no joke there. There's multiple different kinds of maths, And that's just the idea. Do the different maths involved in actually studying what did they give away. It's a pittance. According to, imagine if they had 22% of their income taken from them the way that we do. That's even if it's a flat tax. Forget about the fact that they contribute more to a carbon footprint and the destruction of our infrastructure than we could possibly ever imagine. 5 years of us doesn't do a fraction of what they do in a single day. Look up those statistics. Right? Look up that, do the math on that. These guys are wrecking our world for a short-term profit. because they know they can always just turn it around later and screw us over. Pete Buttigieg, yeah, everybody who's in Canada who remembers last year when that Loblaws thing went on, oh yeah, they were price fixing bread for the past couple of years so that they were overcharging us more than double what it should have been. And there was price fixing. That's illegal. Pete Buttigieg was involved in that. He gets off scot-free. Why? Because he's rich. Because who cares? If you got a good enough lawyer or a good enough team of lawyers, you can get away with anything. And that's the thing. These are people who've done all sorts of crimes, but have never had to pay for it because the silver spoon in their mouths. They're the elite. We're the scum. So what do you expect? I've been involved, porn trout. I've been involved in enough drugs to know lots of low life people are self-medicating, both because the system and safety net of people failed them 100%, 100%, 100%. Because when you look at this, thanks, Lord Kinbot, the great reviews thing. Legacy, thank you, Ed Brewer. Yeah, the legacy hires and the legacy transfers, whatever, the people getting through the legacy system in colleges. Anyway, yes, the people who are so-called self-medicating. Look, the healthcare system here in Canada is so much better than the one that it is in the States. Okay, as an American who's currently living and a resident here in Canada, I'm finally allowed to take advantage of the healthcare system here. I've only gone once, you know what I'm saying? But my kids who were born here, my youngest, has had to use it before, you know? And in the States, everybody simply knows ridiculously long lines, longer than the lines here. Sorry, hate to dispel that rumor. It's not about pride in your country. I served in the United States Army. I was an infantry soldier. None of you, unless you served, none of you have the pride in your country that I have for America. And I can be critical because that's what being a patriot is. It's not being a nationalist. I hate when people make that mistake. Oh, you don't have any pride in your country. What does that mean? Because my country has never told me to go to war. It was these rich politicians who were enriching by these big military industrial complex, super wealthy billionaires, multi-billionaires. They're the people who are telling poor people like me when I was a kid to go to war. All right? That's not what our country is supposed to be. That was never what it was intended to be. Just look at the freaking Constitution, for crying out loud. But hey, that's the difference between being a patriot and a nationalist. I am not a nationalist. I'm a patriot. Patriots throw British tea in the sea and scream about taxation without representation. That's me. I'm on that boat. Ship. Anyway, so when I sit here and I say this, even in Canada, unfortunately, medication isn't taken care of unless you spend a night in the hospital. All right. If you have to get an overnight, then you get your medication, your pharmaceuticals taken care of. If not, then you just have pharmaceuticals. Canadians are allowed to bitch and moan about the prices for their medications all they want. Americans really don't have any ground to stand on because there's a reason why Americans cross the border to come into Canada in order to get their medications and then go back overseas, back over the border, back to America, because the medications are cheaper here. My state senator, Cory Booker, is the biggest, what do you call it, contributor to that. He has taken more campaign donations from Big Pharma than anybody else in the country. That's Cory Booker, who just recently dropped out of the state senator. Yeah, it's not about nationalism or hometown pride. Screw Cory Booker. I would never vote for that guy, you know? But at the end of the day, he was taking all these donations because, and what's one of the things that he voted against that really pushed it? Hey, listen, we've got this company that makes pharmaceuticals, and they sell to America and they sell to Canada. They sell to America at 4 times the price, and Canada, well, one quarter of the price. So we'll buy from the same company, but we want to buy from the Canada side instead of the American side. Cory Booker tells this vicious lie, this piece of garbage human being who acts like he cares about us. He tells this lie talking about, well, I want to make sure they're regulated. I can't vote to get drugs from Canada unless they're regulated. They're from the same company, and it's an American company too. So they actually follow the American standards, the RDNA and health, food, drug, and safety, all that stuff. They follow the exact same regulations that America demands. So what the hell is this jackass talking about? Oh, he's just taking donations because it's the people who elect him, but we don't give him enough donations. No, big pharmaceutical companies, they give him the donations he needs. Screw that guy. That guy can burn in hell. That guy can genuinely burn in hell because that is taxation without representation. A state senator is supposed to be a representative of the state. Who the hell did he represent? And he screwed over the country on that one. That's not just Jersey. He screwed over the country. Yo, there's some wicked, evil people. Wicked, evil people. Yes, I wish that we could take money out of politics. God, that would just be great. Or 75%. Oh, yes. So here's the thing. Even in Canada, because I've been at union meetings where even in Canada they talk about how people will take like let's say they get their drug their diabetes medicine. Okay, oh, I got my diabetes medicine for the month, but I can't afford to get next month's, so I'll split it in half. If I'm supposed to take one pill a day, I'll take one pill every 2 days, or whatever it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to take an insulin shot, 2 times a day. I'll just take one a day. I'm going to split it in half and hopefully I'll be okay. And unfortunately, that's not the way it works. And a lot of people die because of that, because pharmaceuticals should undeniably be handled in the medical system here, but it's not. It's just not. In America, it's even worse because we don't even get our freaking doctor bills paid for. And yet somehow we're still paying twice as much as the next most expensive country in what do you call from our tax dollars towards medicine. How does that make sense? Oh, but right away, oh, Medicare for all. How are you going to pay for it? By getting rid of the shit system that we have now, and we'll pay about half as much. Any more questions? The only reason why people even have to be taxed an extra 4%, the wealthy have to be taxed an extra 4%, is because he doesn't want to just take everybody up, because he doesn't want to put everybody into mass panic. I'm taking you off of your your paid system with copays and deductibles and the donut hole and the loopholes and all that stuff. I remember somebody in Canada told me 2 years ago, oh yeah, you guys don't get free medical in there, but I heard that the people with good jobs, they get medical anyway. Yeah. Yeah, I was an electrical engineer back in the States, and I had one of the best insurance systems going. I had the best Aetna system you can go, Class A, platinum all the way. You know what? I still had a deductible. I still had a copay. You know what I'm saying? And we can still keep those people in business. They could still stay in business if they got smart. They just simply wouldn't make the billions that they're making now. They would make millions instead. And nobody has a problem with millionaires. It's the billionaires. They're the wicked ones. You look into how they make their money. They're disgusting. They're disgusting. Tax wealth, not earnings. Sure. Even that, do you know how much that would help us out? Like, that would help us out tremendously. Oy, Amazon workers are maltreated? Hells yes, they are. And hey, now they're getting $15 an hour in the States. And you know who's the person who did that? Bernie Sanders. The president of the United States couldn't do that, but a freaking senator from Vermont was able to use the bully pulpit in order to shame them into paying their workers more. Did the same thing for Disney, tried to do the same thing for Walmart, got them up to 11 instead of 15, got them up to 11. At least that's something. And unfortunately, it didn't work for McDonald's. Wow, McDonald's is sleazy. And they're still trying to automate everything to get more people unemployed. God, you gotta love how evil some people can be, you know? Um, Large amounts of charities these people donate to just put money back in, 100% put money back into rich pockets. Yes, that's exactly how it works. Most foundations are just tax loopholes. Yes, you're right, Coffee Breath. Uncle Skeet, what's up? Watch the movie Dark Waters, crapping on the people. Dark Waters. Okay, I'll look that one up for the sake of anybody in case you didn't understand what I was saying. That one right there, Dark Waters. I'll check that out. Um, the Big Something. What was that movie? The Big Short. The Big Short. It's on Netflix. Go and look that one up. Look at how the wealthy bankers, when we talk about how bankers, the big bankers, like the corporations, the big money bankers and whatnot, should all be in prison. Well, what crime have we committed? Watch The Big Short. Based 100% on true factual stories. They have the receipts to prove it. Go watch that movie. You'll see why they should all be in prison. All of them should be in prison. Go watch The Big Short, it's called. Um, Porn trout stuff makes me genuinely happy to have been born in Finland. I hear you. I hear you. Never worked high-paid jobs myself, or really have no intention as far as I could see. Why would you need to? You can actually live a happy life. You can go out in the woods and hang out. We have to work. We have to work our butts off just to stay ahead, to keep our head above water. Security, kindergarten, and restaurants side of things mostly. Sweet. Tax religious institutions. I hear you right there, Ed Brewer. If they can sink money into politics, they should be able to actually sink money into tax donations, 100%. Especially the prosperity gospel places. God wants me to be rich, and if you send me money and make me, and get me a private plane and all these fancy the Benny Hinn and the Creflo Dollar guys, yeah, they should be taxed big time. Should watch Bronson, stars Tom Hardy. Is that like Charles Bronson? And Banks made like billions of dollars in overdraft fees last year, right? Oh yeah, yeah, because guys like Donald Trump never have to pay back their loans. They never have to pay back their loans. But God forbid you overdraw by a penny, they're going to charge you what, $15 to $35 for your overdraft. Wow. You get to see how that works. Why do they charge? See, let's be realistic. Common sense tells us, it dictates, but they would get so much more from the rich, except that the rich can afford lawyers. The rich can say, well, we're not going to put our money in your banks anymore. We can't. We can't afford a lawyer. If we say, oh, we're going to take our money out, what are you going to take out? $100, $600? What are you taking out of the bank? Could it actually be $1,000? How much do you really have in the bank, right? So what's it going to matter? You want to take your money and go someplace else? Sure, we probably own that bank too. It's cool, or our friends do, so they don't care. Yes, it's about Charles Bronson, not the actor. Oh, somebody else. Okay, interesting. Manufacturer Consent is a must-watch too. It's on YouTube. Oh, for crying out loud, I got too many movies to watch. Okay, but I'm going to have to check some of these out. Anyway, guys, so that's a really long time, and a lot of this was about politics. Mind you, it was kind of important, but yeah. So I am going to bounce out of here, my peeps. Okay, here's what I'm going to do also. You guys can see this, which you should be able to see this. Somebody let me know who gets it first, because one of you gets the movie for free on here. And if you already got the movie one way or another, then by all means, you're golden. But if you don't, this is how you get it. You go to wb.com/redeem movie, and then that code that's in the box. I don't know if you can actually scan it off of there, but worst case scenario, just type in that code into the box, and then you should be fine. And maybe you just pause this and you see the rest of it later. But bang, you guys let me know. Whoever got that, please comment in the actual comment section. Just, I got the code so I can say you're welcome. That's it. And I will talk to you guys later. But I genuinely appreciate you guys sticking around for so long tonight. So this way you guys get a digital copy of that. Somebody gets a digital copy of that. Anyway, so I'll talk to you guys later. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.